Hey everyone, it's Justin Allen Hayes with Voices for Voices, our TV show and podcast. We're so excited to be with you as always. We are here with episode number 383. We're going to be grateful to uh, at least catch episode 400 before the end of calendar year 2025. So it's just really an amazing time, and it's all due to our viewers, our listeners, you. It's due to our guests, like the one we have today. And I'm so excited because we talk so much about how the organization and the show is reaching individuals thousands and thousands of miles away. And the beautiful thing about technology, when it does work, and right now it's working, is we're able to bring so many different perspectives from individuals all across the world. And one of the beautiful things that you're going to hear from our guests is no matter where we live, where we come from, where we move to, that the topics that our guest is going to talk about, they happen to human beings. And so there's human beings in the United States and there's human beings in Australia and all areas in between on our great planet Earth. And we're so grateful for you to be joining us today. So again, I'm going to do a brief intro of our guest, Helen Dugdale, coming to us from around Sydney, Australia at this time. So I am going to do my thing and give a little bit of a background on our guest. So Helen Dugdale, she is a brain and sleep and anxiety and linking all those to thriving and how our brain operates and works through all those aspects. The sleep is for me, it's one of the big things that we try to do is we try to get enough sleep. I think the older we get, that we realize that our body repairs itself and does a whole lot of things that Helen's going to get into. And so she is an expert on sleep and anxiety. She's really the brain expert. And then we definitely are going to be threading all of that together to uh, give us a good look on how that all affects thriving, which I think all of us want to do on a daily base and just in life in general. So, Helen Dugdale, thank you so much for joining us.
And thank you for having me, Justin. It's a pleasure to be with you, and hopefully, I can share some tips with your listeners.
Absolutely. Maybe you can give a little bit of background in how you became interested in the work you did, and then we can just work our way through the continuum.
Yeah, good question. A lot of people ask me that because I started out in science. I did a science qualification back in the 70s, and I worked in scientific research for 20 or 30 years. And then I went and got a teaching qualification and I taught science at secondary schools. Then I went back into research and then I started my own business, personal development, running personal development workshops for people. And that includes motivation, communication skills, confidence building, leadership skills, goal setting, all those sorts of things. And while I was doing that, I thought I should really go back to university and study psychology. So I went back and got a graduate diploma of psychology. And when you think about it, everything we do has to do with psychology. And and while I was and so I graduated that psychology on my 62nd birthday, and that was a few years ago. So I tell everyone it's never too old to change careers or to do something new. It's you're never too old. Um, so I've been doing the brain coaching for the last 11 years, as individuals and in group workshop situations. And during COVID, with the lockdown, I couldn't see that many people face to face. So I thought, what will I do with my time? So I wrote a book,
Hmm.
Put
Oh,
Insomnia to
great.
Sleep. And because I realized there's so much information out there about insomnia, why are people still having problems sleeping when there's all this information there? We all know what we should be doing. Why aren't we doing it? Um, we know it's no point tossing and turning at 2 o'clock in the morning, but we still do it. Our brains just can't switch off. So I did some research into that. And because I was getting good results with my clients and helping them sleep, so I'm thinking, if I can help people, what about you know what am I doing right that's helping people with their sleep? So I looked into it and wrote a book, and I worked out all the bad things you should stop doing and all the good things that you should start doing. And a lot of it, if it's not your sleeping environment, or if it's not a physical or medical ailment, usually it's an emotional thing that's keeping you awake. So the secret is to find out, what is it that's keeping you awake. And some people think they might know what it is, but it might be something else. And everyone is different. Everyone's causes and cures are different. Um, so anxiety is a big culprit in a lot of people's lives, um, and that's what's keeping people awake. It also affects other parts of your life, as you were saying in your introduction, that if you don't sleep well, it can affect other parts of your life and other parts of your body, and things will start to break down. Well, I mean, it's more than just beauty sleep, or it's more than just being grumpy the next day, isn't it? If you don't get enough sleep. We all know people who are grumpy from not having enough sleep, but it can be worse than that. It can affect your um, decision making skills. Like people who are so tired during the day that they'll grab that energy drink or that chocolate bar when they know they shouldn't be doing that, but it helps get them through the day. Or they might make mistakes at work because they're tired. Then there's also the physiological effect of not enough sleep, that it could lead to um, those autoimmune diseases, or I know people who have got rashes because they haven't got enough sleep. So there's all sorts of things that can happen if you don't get enough sleep, and a lot of it is due to anxiety. And
I believe it
yeah,
so much. I do have generalized anxiety. I think we all, to some extent, have anxiety, and that was one of the things before I got diagnosed with major depression and general anxiety and low spectrum autism and ADHD, all those fun things 8 years ago. But I was at least able to put my finger through professionals on things that I could do, or at least try to do, that I may have overlooked. Of, well, what's the big deal if I stay up till 1 or 2 in the morning working on something or watching a movie or a show, and then trying to rise early. And I remember my dad, he would say, you gotta, you gotta stop burning the candle at both ends of getting up early and going to bed late. And that led to uh, a lot of poor decisions over the course of my life. But one of them was I was driving home late at night. I was out partying the 2 nights prior, and I needed rest, but I was like, oh, I'm gonna go hang out and be an hour away from where I live. And I ended up, I wasn't under the influence when I wrecked my car, but I totaled my car. And that was a huge thing that I kind of cataloged, and it was back in my mind, but I didn't do anything at that time. So I think it's great the work that you're doing and bringing your expertise to our viewers and listeners, because it is a very true thing. No matter how young we are, or uh, how advanced and experienced. Try not to use age, but to your point, that is awesome that you went at a little bit like of a non-traditional age to get your degree, and I'd love that to be able to share as you are to reviewers and listeners to say like, oh well, I'm too old, or uh, there might be reasons why they're not able to that don't have anything to do with the age, but if it comes down to the age of like, I can't do that. So thank you for that motivation and that aspect. And I guess I wanted to just ask, so how is your sleep? Is it easy to practice, or is it tough?
Well, thanks for asking a personal question.
Oh,
Yes,
if you don't
no,
want to, you
that's
don't
all
have to
right.
answer.
It's good. It's good. I didn't used to sleep very well at all, but now with everything I've learned over the last few years, I'm putting that into practice, and I want people to know that it is possible to change. You can change, and all the people I've helped people that have only had 2 or 3 hours a night sleep for 40 years. And then they started sleeping through the night. And so different people, different cures will work for different people. What works for someone might not work for somebody else. You have to try all the different things that's going to suit you and your lifestyle. But what I've learned to help myself is the deep breathing helps, being relaxed. So your aim is to be relaxed. If you keep saying, I have to sleep, I have to sleep, why can't I sleep? And getting all upset, well, that just builds the cortisol up in your body and you won't be able to relax enough to go to sleep. So it's really important to aim for to be in a relaxed state rather than aim to sleep. Do you see there's a slight
I
difference there?
do.
And
Yeah.
as one of my clients said, you have to stop fighting it because that's just going to make you feel more stressed. So stop fighting it. And
I
gradually, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, no, go ahead.
yeah.
I'm
And
with you.
gradually because your brain's got into the habit of being awake after 2 or 3 hours maybe. So you've got to stop that, change that way of thinking and introduce a new pattern of thinking, a new pattern of reacting. And it is possible to change your neural pathways in your brain. It's called neuroplasticity. A lot of people
Okay.
might have heard of that now, but it is possible. It doesn't matter how old you are. I had a 94-year-old who couldn't sleep during the night at night and was getting all anxious. And then because they were anxious and not sleeping, that had an effect on their health. And once we worked out, it reduced the anxiety and got her to sleep during the night through the night, her blood pressure went down and her doctor reduced her medication and she started
Wow.
enjoying her life again. It was, and her 6-year-old daughter sent me a beautiful email saying what a difference it had made to her elderly mother's life. It was just, it was so rewarding to hear that. So you're never too old, and it is possible to change. So I want to give people the hope that you can change. It is possible, but it's up to you to repeat your new habits. And that's what a habit is. It's repetition. We want to get rid of the bad habits and introduce good habits.
So how did that make you feel? So on the emotion scale of, uh, there's all kind of different work out there, and what people can do to make a living and earn a living, and how rewarding, as you mentioned with the email from the daughter of the 94-year-old, that email, how rewarding it made you feel. Can you just share what that's like? So if
Oh,
somebody has an interest in that type of work,
well, it was,
maybe I'll look into that.
yeah, it was humbling that to be able to help someone like that. And it was also like a feeling of elation. I just felt so happy for that lady, just really happy that, and she was so relieved that she
Mm.
that she wasn't so anxious anymore. It was, Yeah, I was very happy for her, and I was elated that we had that outcome. It, but the people that have suffered for another one was 27 years with 3 hours a night. And then
Oh,
after after our first session, she slept 9 hours. She said, I couldn't believe it.
uh,
Yeah, amazing. So, but what we do is we find
mhm,
out what the original trigger is that's keeping you awake. Then we resolve that feeling. Like it happened. We're not denying that it happened, but that original trigger, it did happen. It's how you're going to let it affect you from now on. Do you still want it to keep impacting on your life? Or do you want to resolve it and move on? So the third stage is I get people to come up with some strategies that they can implement that are going to suit their life. Like as I was saying before, what works for one person might not work for another. Um, but there's all different sorts of tips in the book, and I've got a one pager, a PDF one pager with my top tips of sleeping better. If people want to contact me, I can send them the one pager, or there's plenty more tips in the book. But but try what works for you. But the aim is to be relaxed. And the other thing is that a lot of people are beating themselves up. For whether it's valid or not, they're beating themselves up for whatever reason, and that's keeping them awake. What I also get for all of my clients is to tell me, what are your good points? What
mhm.
do you like about yourself? What do your family like about you? What do your friends like about you? And a lot of people say, oh, I don't know, I can't think of anything. Then I really get it out of them what their good points are. So then as part of the moving on strategies, just keep reminding yourself, what are you good at? What do you like about yourself? Rather than continuing to dwell on your bad points, because that's going to keep you awake at night. Oh, I'm useless. Oh, I'm bad at this. I'm no good at that. Da, 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 da. Why did I do that? Why did the person look at me that way? Whatever is going through your mind, even though you know it's silly, why are you doing this to yourself? You can't stop it. So I help you stop that behavior and introduce new, more positive behaviors.
I love it. That's you're bringing unity to people in a positive way. And I know for myself, the time that I spent in corporations and larger companies, that uh, there was just so much focus on the negative, like, okay, what can I do better when the, performance reviews or whatever they come up, and it really did. It took away a lot of my happiness of what I'm doing good. It doesn't mean we're perfect, not by any stretch, but when we just, like you said, just we think about things that, oh, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at that, then it keeps my mind and others and kind of that rumination, and we just start thinking about the same thing over and over and over again. And then when you find that thing or that person like you, with your book, with your experience, with your one pager, to be able to say, hey, what are some good points? Not, okay, yeah, yeah, we do. We need to work on this. That's okay. But let's start and talk about some positives. So I love that
Yeah.
part of your process.
And we're always learning. We can always improve. And as you said, um, we don't have to be perfect. And when you think about it, there's no such thing as perfection. You
True.
might get to the top of your tree, and then people start saying, I could have done it better. I could have done it faster. I could have done it this. But so there's no such thing as perfection. You can always strive to be better, though, strive for improvement, but don't beat yourself up if you're not perfect. I even know some people who don't even start a project because they think they're not going to be perfect.
Mm.
So that's procrastination at its utmost.
Absolutely. Been there.
And that brings me on. I'm halfway through my second book about anxiety.
Okay.
So, and in my research, the scientists or the medical people are saying out of all the mental health disorders, anxiety is the easiest one to overcome. And you think,
Mm,
wow, that is a big statement, isn't it?
it is.
But it's true. You keep working on yourself, you can reduce your anxiety. And everyone is different. Again, everyone is different, but it is possible. I want to give people that hope. It is possible.
And it's good that because it's not just, okay, I know I need to reduce my anxiety. It's finding those good things, those good traits about. So it's more like a process of starting with positive to make it a little bit easier to get to
Mm.
lower anxiety, even just a little bit. I'm sure you've seen
Yes.
like
Yep.
huge improvements. People or your clients are saying, "Wow, I never looked at it like that," or "I forgot about that because that was so long ago that I thought it didn't matter."
Mm. And well, you can also just start with gratitude. What are you
Mm,
grateful for in your life? And then that leads on to like a snowballing of positive habits. And like you don't have to think of 100 things, just start off with three things that you're grateful for. And I know there's a lot of people out there spruiking gratitude, but it is helpful. If you start thinking of what are you grateful for and then what are your good points, it does have a snowballing effect and makes you feel good rather than dwelling on the negatives all the time. So, if people who are listening, if you could just think of three things right off the top of your head that you're grateful for, it doesn't have to be major, like,
that's right.
doesn't have to be $1 million, but you're grateful
Yeah.
for having fresh water. You're grateful
Hmm.
for a roof over your head. You're grateful for someone in your life, or a shopkeeper smiled at you. Doesn't have to be a big
Yes.
thing. Mm.
And that's what I've learned and is in my mind, I think of well, it's got to be something major. Like it's got to be something big, and it doesn't need to be. It can be very small and minor. Going, oh my gosh, I overlook these things on a daily basis, and while it might not be a huge thing, it gets that process of positivity started, and that's where the whole deal is to
Yep.
break that negativity process and just get started. And like I feel the same way about just being grateful for a roof overhead and clean drinking water and things that we just in our mind are so far in the future that
Mm.
we don't sometimes say, okay, like can I ground myself and what am I grateful for? Well, the clothes I have, the ability to have the internet to be able to have this beautiful conversation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got it.
That I'm learning still on the so much. It's it's really incredible work. So when we get to the thriving part of your process of wanting to get there, you're starting with the positivity, and then you're working through the sleep and the anxiety and multiple other uh, areas. But it
Mm.
looks like that thriving is where we maybe want to get to, but that looks probably different for everybody. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah. Well, once you start feeling good about yourself, maybe people might start doing things differently, and
Mm,
and this is where the thriving comes in. They start gradually improving their life around them. Um, I've got lots of stories where and it's not just about money, but it's about how
mm,
good you feel within yourself. But the more positive you are, things seem to happen to you or for you when you emit this positive persona, maybe, that you're not sort of this grumpy, morose person that just grunts at people. Even though you might have some sad things happen to you, there are still some good things in your life. I had can I tell you some stories, some case studies
Oh,
that
I was going to say, please, as much as you want to share.
I had a young man who was being bullied at work, and it was really upsetting him, and he couldn't see a way out. He felt he had to stay there to earn an income, and he wasn't doing his studies. His studies would have got him a qualification that would have got him out of that situation, but he didn't have the motivation to finish his studies, and he was just being picked on, and he was very anxious and very upset about everything, as you could imagine. So his mum sent him along to see me. And anyway, we worked out what was holding him back, and then I took him through the method of thinking of the things that he's good at. What are his good points? Because he was a lovely young man, but he just thought he was about an inch big, because he kept being put down all the time. So he gave me a list. He worked out a list of things he wanted to achieve in the near future that would make him feel good, that he actually could get something done, because he kept putting things off all the time. So he did that. And then I think even the next day or the next few days, he rang me and he said, "Helen, I've done half the things on the list already." He said, "I feel so good." So that was great. And then a few weeks later, he said to me, "Helen, guess what happened?" I said, "What?" He said, "I quit my job. I don't have to put up with those awful people anymore." And then, because he was studying, he applied for another job. And because they knew he was studying, they gave him this job that was a bit higher up that his studies would complement. And much, much nicer people. He had more autonomy. He was so happy. He said, "I didn't know life could feel this good." And so he was thriving. He was starting to stand up for himself in a nice way. And then a few years later, I caught up with him again. He started his own business, and he's got clients coming out all over the place. Very, very happy and thriving. Just, yeah, it was a good story.
I am so happy you shared that, because that was me in a few years back, in that where it seemed like couldn't do anything right at work, or like, how am I gonna continue on? Uh, whether it's, being bullied, or just not being, like a simple thank you really goes a long way. It doesn't have to always be about the money. And when you're working through things, it's like, oh my gosh, from the time I leave work until the next day, it's like I'm just dreading it. And like, then, eating and nutrition gets, uprooted, uh and then obviously leading to poor sleep, because it's like, oh my gosh, once I go to sleep and wake up, I'm gonna have to go back to that same place that's treating
Mhm.
me, or what I feel is treating me, in a negative fashion.
Yeah.
Is there another story that you could
Um,
share?
uh, I've got a sporting story, an athletic
Oh,
story. Um,
that'd be great.
um, I've got a few actually. A young man was a weightlifter, and he said
Okay.
he's putting in all the training, but he's not going that extra mile. He's not improving each time he goes to training. And he had the national championships coming up in a few months' time. And he said, but he's not improving. He's not even doing a PB. So he'd lost his
Oh.
mojo, right?
Hmm.
So we worked out what was holding him back, and so he wasn't feeling good about himself because he was putting in the hours but not getting anywhere. right? So he wasn't feeling good. So we worked out what was holding him back, and he gradually started improving the amount of weights he could lift, and I kept saying to him, just do what your weight coach says, right? Because
Yeah.
I didn't want him to go and burst his insides, by
Mm-mm.
doing too much. So I said, just follow what your weight coach is saying, but you've got to put the effort in. You've got to believe in yourself. So we did all that sort of thing. And then the championships were coming up, and um, I was like his mother. I thought, oh, how's he going to go? Will
Yeah.
he make it? And I just didn't want him to hurt himself. That was the main
Yeah.
thing. But I also wanted him to get the best out of himself. And he rang me that night, and he said he broke 3 world records and 5 national records for his age group. He
Oh.
was just over the moon. Just and he wrote me. He was only young, lovely, lovely young man.
Mm.
And and he said he wrote a testimonial, and he said, as if he was writing to the public, do you want to
Yeah.
be good or do you want to be great? And he said, you need brain coaching to go from
Yes.
good to great, because he got the motivation, he got his mojo back. And so he wasn't beating himself up anymore.
Oh
That
gosh.
was, and that was pretty good
Yeah, that's
relief.
awesome. Yeah, I mean, in getting that feedback, then obviously it helps you and it validates, what the work that you're
Yeah,
doing and
yeah,
that and getting that kind of that positive emotional feedback is huge no matter what kind of job we're in. And so for whether it's the weightlifting or it's the individual at work
yeah,
or the
mm,
94-year-old or
yeah,
others.
yeah.
That's incredible.
Um, and getting back to how anxiety can affect your lifestyle, like other than
Please.
grabbing the wrong drink or too much chocolate or too much alcohol just because you're tired or anxious, um, it can play havoc with your digestive system. You've heard of the gut brain connection. A lot of anxious people, they could get diarrhea or they could get constipated. Their stomach gets all knotted or their stomach is all churning up because of anxiety. There is a real definite connection between the gut and the brain. And there's been a lot of research done on that. So if you can use some tips and some strategies to reduce your anxiety, your digestive system improves. And I had a few people that would wake up every morning with a clenched stomach because they're so churned up over some issues that they would have diarrhea. And it was just, and it affected their getting to work because of all these stomach issues. So we worked out what the cause of the anxiety was, developed some strategies to reduce their anxiety. They don't have a clenched stomach when they wake up in the morning. They used to dread the mornings because of how their insides felt. So they was very relieved in more ways than one.
Yeah, oh, yeah, for sure. I remember a few years back, so let's say my lowest mental health part was kind of my worst day, but the best because I was letting go of the control and getting the help that I needed. So really, I just passed through eight years in this past November of being sober, number one, and just trying to use the second half of my life for helping and instead of everything's got to be about me, which looking back, there was a lot of things I was chasing different titles at work and going out and I was doing things that I assumed were what I should be doing, but like nobody told me that. It was just, oh, well, I'm at university, so I'm gonna go out and drink and do all that partying, and then that kind of carried over when the university was done. And then I was having these different things along the way that I was just burying in my brain, and I didn't talk to anybody about that. And once I started to do that, I started to improve very, very much. But getting to the sleep part, there were many years that would go by where I was terrified to go to bed. There were times when uh, different individuals I would connect with, they would mention like trying to meditate and just trying to slow down my breathing and I mean doing all those types of things. And every time I did that, it I saw like a shark. Like it says like, go to your happy place, go to like where you're, and for me it's usually the ocean and the sand and the one thing I was always going back to was going to like a pier, and I was going and I was sitting down and my feet were just dangling and I was just listening to the waves, and then all of a sudden the shark would come out of nowhere, and that shark now is nowhere to be seen for me. But it's one of those things that I have no doubt that lowering the anxiety and other things was a huge thing. And I'm sure there's a lot of viewers and listeners that have, like you said, that clenched stomach and just dreading and having that effect if they're traveling too of
Mm,
maybe missing a flight or a train and
mm.
missing getting to work late.
Yeah, yeah. But I want to give people um, a, a really easy example of how it is possible to change. And it's, as I was saying, it's neuroplasticity, rewiring your brain. Like an easy example to understand is if you're right-handed and you've hurt your
Mhm.
right hand and you have to use your left, it's awkward to start with, isn't it? It's very awkward to hold the pen or hold the computer mouse or whatever. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. And that's because your brain is rewiring and sending messages down to your left hand saying, hold the pen this way, hold the cup this way, hold the mouse that way. So that's your brain rewiring to your left hand from your right hand, right? That's an easy way of explaining neuroplasticity. So another example is you've heard people who keep saying, "Oh, I'm bad at maths. I'm no good at maths. I'm terrible at maths. I'm always bad." Well, guess what? They will be bad at maths because that's what they're telling themselves. What if you told yourself something good? That I am good at this. I am capable. I can do it. Keep saying it. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Like when in your recovery, I bet you repeated all those positive
Mhm.
habits. And the more you repeat something, the more likely it's going to connect in your brain. It's like
Absolutely.
Aristotle said it 2,000 years ago, that Greek philosopher, that you are what you repeatedly do. So it's not something we've just invented in this new age. And if you think about it, you are what you repeatedly do. So if you keep saying, I am a good person, I am capable, I am calm, or whatever it is that rings a bell for you, that's how you're going to be. But you have to repeat it. Um, I've got a story that, even though it's about horse riding, you can
Mhm.
apply it to any part of your life. I
Great.
had a client who was a rodeo rider, and she bred her own horses, trained her own horses, ridden horses her whole life. And she said, I keep coming second and third. And I know I'm just as good as the people who come first. Why? What's holding me back? Why can't I win? And she's put in all the work. She knows her horses, the horses know her, everything like that. And I said, okay, well, talk me through it because I don't know anything about horses or
Yeah.
rodeo. And
Me
she said,
too.
well, I'm sitting on the horse waiting for the gates to open. to go out into the arena.
Mhm.
And she said, she tells herself, don't mess it up, don't mess it up, don't mess it up. And guess what happens?
She messes
She
up.
messes it up. So we worked out what was holding her back, came up with some new strategies. And I said, what do you want to tell yourself? Instead of don't mess it up, what do you want to tell yourself? And I got her to go through all her good points. And her good points were she's a good horse rider. She knows her horses. She knows what she's doing, all that sort of stuff, all her good points. And she said, okay, I want to be able to say, I've got this. I've got this. I've got this.
Mhm.
So she's sitting on the horse, the gate's about to open, and this is a couple of weeks later, and she rang me again
Mhm.
and said, guess what? She's national champion.
Wow.
And I said, tell me what happened. What was, she said, I found myself, I started to say, don't mess it up. But then she stopped herself and said, I've got this, I've got this, I've got this. And her horse responded, everything went perfectly. Yeah. So even though that's about horses, you can say,
Mhm.
anyone can say this to themselves. If you find yourself telling yourself negative stuff,
Mhm.
just and realize, oh, what am I saying to myself? Just stop and think to yourself, what's really going on here? How do I want to be like that, or do I want to be like this? And come up with your own saying, your own mantra. What do you want to repeat all the time? How do you want to feel from now on? And then repeat it. Like someone who beats themselves up, maybe they could start saying, I am a good person. I am a good person. I am a good person. Like they're not a bad person 24 hours a day, are they?
Correct.
They're
No,
a good person more times than they are a bad person. Keep reminding yourself you are a good person. And
I
then you
love that.
start feeling better about yourself. Your breathing slows down. You're more relaxed instead of getting uptight all the time.
Yes. Yeah. No, yeah, those stories. Yeah, it doesn't matter where you're at. It could be a student getting ready for an exam or a test and saying, "Oh, I'm not going to do very well," and then they don't. And rewiring that, burning that neuroplasticity that you're mentioning is it does, and I think it probably surprises a lot of your clients that not that it's easy, but it's like, oh my gosh, like this is what I needed to do. And I didn't need to go, cure a disease or do something that's so grand. Getting back to that, being grateful for and that gratitude of I'm grateful to have shoes and little
Yeah.
things. And yeah.
Mm,
So
mm.
so your book that is out, where can you show
Put
that again?
insomnia
And
to sleep. Yep.
okay.
You can
Where's
get
that
that
available?
on Amazon
Okay.
or through
Uh,
my website, but it's more expensive for me to post it from Australia. Amazon
yeah.
is cheaper. Yeah.
Okay, Amazon is cheaper.
Yeah.
Great.
But
I'll
I run
definitely post.
individual consultations on Zoom, and I
Okay.
also do group workshops. I did a group
Mhm.
workshop on Zoom, and someone fell asleep
Oh,
because
probably because they were feeling bad. Yeah, they
they were
were like,
feeling.
oh.
I went through a few exercises to give them examples. This is what you can do at home, and he fell asleep in about 15 seconds. But when I thought about it, I thought, the poor thing, imagine how tired he must have been. Like he came to the workshop because of sleep problems. And then during the workshop, I'm giving them some tips on how to sleep better. So he must have been really tired. So,
Yeah. I like that example though, but because it goes to the sleeping and all the other areas that you mentioned that might have been the first time in a long time that he felt that calm or and
that's right. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
his body wasn't clenched up.
Yeah. I've also put out a journal, a 90-day
Okay.
journal, goal setting journal. And the first few pages, are all about what we were talking about. What are you grateful for? What's going to motivate you? Because a lot of people, they set goals and then they don't follow through. So why aren't you following through? And so there's really good tips in here on motivating yourself to follow through and feel good about yourself. I did that. I did that. So I run workshops on that, and that's one guy in the workshop said, "Well, there goes my excuse to do nothing,"
Uh,
because I gave him all these motivation
yeah.
tips.
Mm, oh, that's, but he probably is helping him so much. It's like, wow, like there's so much of the neuroplasticity that was available for him to do more things and uh, anybody to do more things when you rewire and take some of the at least a little bit of the negativity or what's bothering you. And uh, what do you find that is the most uh, as far as the process that you teach, do you find that it's not until somebody is thriving that they recognize the change, or is it if everybody's different across the board?
Um, Usually they realize early on, we get them onto a new path and they
Okay.
feel a weight lifted
Okay.
um, as they're starting on this new path. And as you feel better and better about yourself, then that's when the thriving comes in. You're more
Mm,
motivated to keep going because you're feeling good about yourself. You're seeing some achievements towards where you want to be. So it's really like a weight is lifted right at the start to free you up to thrive.
okay. Great. That makes complete sense. We're getting close to the end of our time together. Uh, did we miss anything or something you want to reiterate? Just wrap it up for you, uh, or you can do
Well,
that.
well, I want to leave people with something positive, and that is like deep breathing is free. We've all heard how good deep breathing is. How many of us actually do it? We all go about just doing shallow breathing just to get by.
Yes.
When we stop and take a deep breath, we're putting oxygen into our bloodstream and it's immediately calming you down. Just repeat and then blow out all that stress. So take a deep breath, hold it, blow it all out. Just do it a few times and you will feel better about yourself. And this really helps people who want to get back to sleep, calm themselves down, take a few deep breaths. Or if you're in an anxious situation, instead of going into your automatic negative response, whatever that is, just
Mhm.
take a minute to do it, take a deep breath and just think to yourself, what is really going on here? Do I want to go down my old path or do I want to be like this, my new path?
Um, I love it. Oh, Helen Dugdale, thank you so much for joining us on the show. On it, I feel like I love learning more, and even just that repetition of uh, like, okay, if you work on positives, that you're better opportunities to have positives occur, and the same goes for negatives. Doesn't mean everything's going to turn out in the positive, but if you can just make a little bit of a shift, that is that is so awesome. The work you do, the inspiration of getting going back to school when you did, and still having the energy, the vibrancy to help individuals, to help groups, to have work that people can go on Amazon and purchase. That is just awesome. I'm so grateful that you reached out to me and that we were able to make this work because, and I don't say it lightly, somebody with your background is something we've been missing. You know, we tackle a lot of different topics as you mentioned, and it's great to get back kind of to a little bit of the I don't say the basics because it's not basic. Um, and it is just so rewarding that the stories that you shared of individuals all across the spectrum, from a younger individual with the lifting to the 94-year-old, and it really there's no person, there's no too early or too late to get started. So thank you for being on the show, and thank you for doing what you are doing. And I just want to mention my mom's name is Helen, so she's gonna love this this particular episode especially. So
Well, thank you, Justin. It's been a pleasure, and I hope there's been a few tips amongst all that that your listeners can benefit from. At, I'm happy to answer emails or go on Zoom
okay,
if anyone's got any questions. I'm happy to do that. Take
okay,
yeah.
great,
But
yeah, and
I'm
then
grateful for you being available and grateful for your podcast and spreading the message out to people. Good on you.
oh, thank you. That's what we're trying to do. And when you find somebody like yourself, and it's a great match, that's why it's like, yeah, like let's get this done. Let's get together. Let's get this filmed, and let's get this out. So it will be coming out in the next couple days, obviously because of the time change and in that. So it will be definitely before the weekend, your time. I will send you all the links. I'll tag you and all of that when we do the kind of the promo announcement. And then again, you can share it, you can uh, do whatever, and have individuals watch that and learn that way too. And thank you for putting yourself out there and sharing the stories. I love them. That I'm a like a visual type of learner, so I follow those stories, and it makes a lot better sense to me. Whereas other people might find the words and the definitions and that a little easier to comprehend. But I'm definitely a visual, so thank you for covering both of those.
Thank you. Been a pleasure.
Absolutely. And we want to thank you, our viewers, our listeners. Episode 383. You just saw or listened to our interview from many thousands of miles away in Australia, in the Sydney, Australia time zone. Helen Dugdale, the brain coach, talked about everything from sleep to uh, thriving and everything in between. And please go check out her books on Amazon. Can you just say the name of it again?
Put insomnia to sleep.
Put insomnia to sleep. And I love that. I'm a visual person, and that's probably one of the best titles I've heard in a long time. And also, Helen does have the 90-day journal as well. So take a look out for that, both of those. And
Well, the
uh,
90-day journal's not on Amazon,
oh,
but
okay. I'm
I can do
sorry.
the workshops coaching people through goal setting and
Oh,
motivating. Yeah.
okay. Perfect. Yeah, and anybody that has themselves or a group that would like to work with Helen, definitely please reach out to her either directly or reach out to us, and we will get you in contact with her. So for our listeners, our viewers from 100 countries across the world, 1,000 cities, and for Helen Dugdale. Thank you all for joining us on this episode number 383 of the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. So until next time, please be a voice for you or somebody in need. We'll see you next time, everybody.